Hi, welcome to the lecture for Module 2, Chapter 4, Matching Employees with Jobs. So the first step to matching people to the right jobs is to determine what jobs we need to have performed and the qualifications needed for those to do the job. So we need to do some workforce planning and analysis. So workflow analysis is the tool that we use to identify what has to be done within the organization to produce a product or a service. So identifying the expected results, so you're really essentially working backward, and then you're determining the steps required to create the end result. So this exhibit shows the entire workflow analysis process. So the main two primary outcomes for most job analysis projects are job descriptions and job specs. So the job description identifies the major tasks and duties, responsibilities of the job, and the job specs identify qualifications that are in the job description. So what are the characteristics of the person, what type of experience, things like that. So once we understand the workflows in the organization, we have to figure out which parts of the workflows are done by each person. So job analysis is the process used to identify the work performed and the working conditions for each job within the organization. So why do we need to analyze jobs? Well, it helps us as a basis for human resource planning and training. And it helps us design jobs to get the results that we're going to need. Job evaluation for compensation. We need to know what the job consists of in order to know what you need to pay. Staffing, recruiting, selection, training. Performance management. How can we evaluate performance if we don't know what the worker's job consists of? And then maintaining a safe work environment. Knowing the job duties will help identify job hazards, necessary PPE, and required safety training. So there are various databases that can be helpful to those performing job analysis. One of these is ONET Data, and that gives you general information on over 1,000 job titles, and it can adjust that information to your company's specific requirements. So it gives you a good basis for starting a job analysis. So there are 4 commonly used methods for job analysis, and they all have pros and cons. The first one, questionnaires. It's a low cost, quick and easy. The negative to it, it can have low response rate, and it could be incomplete. So it can be given to the current job holders, supervisors, or other people that are affected by the way the job's done, like quality control, for example. Verbal interviews. So a trained interviewer would ask questions of a current job holder. So the positives, it can be complete and comprehensive, and some of the drawbacks, it might be seen as time-consuming or expensive. A diary, where the worker documents basically all tasks given that they do in the job in any given day. So the good thing is it gives you data in real time, but information might be distorted or might be incomplete. You probably don't do the same duties every day. And then observation. So somebody is shadowing, observing everything. So the positive is they're getting the firsthand knowledge, seeing the worker in the work environment. And then the negatives, that having the observer there might affect the worker's performance. It can be time consuming and not necessarily cost effective. So hopefully when you do a job analysis, the outcome would be the job description and the job spec. Now, tasks are grouped by the organization usually into functional departments, and then tasks are further grouped into jobs for each employee, providing structures and processes. And job design is the process that identifies tasks that employees are responsible for and how those tasks will be accomplished with the process. So the job design is crucial because it affects job satisfaction and productivity on how you make up the job. Now, job redesign is really important too because as tasks change or the way they're performed changes, you need to redesign the job. And it's about working smarter, not harder. We're constantly reworking our processes, and as we get new people coming in, it's a fresh eyes, and we try to take advantage of that and have updates done on the processes. So there's different organizational structures, and it might be within different organizations or even different parts of an organization. So the more levels, that's more rigid, bureaucratic, centralized company. That's lots of hierarchy. So you look at an organization chart that has CEOs, then it might have presidents, VPs, directors, managers, supervisors, and the direct reports. So companies that are more traditional might be Walmart, Target, those kinds of structures. And then you have relaxed or flatter structures, they call. And what that is it means if they say a flatter organization, it means less levels. So not as more freedom, there's more independence to make decisions and authority. So they're allowing each position to have more say in what they do and more decision-making power. And it's definitely good for the creative process. Google, Facebook, a lot of those types of companies use a flatter org structure. Okay, so there's a lot of different approaches to job design. Here's 4. The mechanistic job design tries to make jobs more simple and repetitive. So it's good where an employee can get good and fast at it, like a manufacturing environment. It can be really efficient, but sometimes the job can be too repetitive and boring. Biological job design, where you're making the job physically easier to be efficient and less likely to be injured. So if you have an aging workforce, you might have magnifying features so they can see things, or maybe a big thick mat if people are standing all the time, or make it ergonomically sound and you make the machine higher if somebody, to adjust with their height or have it be adjustable. Perceptual motor job design, you can divide a job duty and then break it down based on skill sets required. But if you're taking away some of the more challenging parts of the job, then it might not be as motivating or stimulating. And then finally, the motivational job design, where the theory is that if workers are more motivated, they'll produce more work. So you want to focus on the perception that person feels, the job satisfaction and motivation. So page 94, Exhibit 4.2, this is the job characteristics model, and it provides a conceptual framework for designing or enriching jobs based on the core job characteristics. So use of this model improves employee motivation, job satisfaction, and can increase performance by meeting employees' needs to grow and develop on the job. So there's 5 core job characteristics to improve employees' productivity and quality of life. So if you're wanting to kind of enrich a job, there's different things that you can do. First one is skill variety. So number of diverse tasks that make up a job and the number of skills used to perform the job. So you can add more variety to make it more stimulating. Task identity, it's the degree to which an employee performs the whole task. Does he assemble the entire TV or just put the screen in place? Task significance, the employee's perception of importance of the task to others and to the organization. Autonomy, degree to which the employee has the power to make decisions for planning and organizing, and then feedback, the extent to which employees find out how well they perform. So numbers 1 through 3 lead to a degree of experience meaningfulness of work. The fourth one, experience responsibility of the outcome. And number 5, the psychological state of the knowledge of the results. So designing motivational jobs, can you use a variety of different tools to design or redesign motivational jobs? So to job simplification, you could break down a job into a flow chart and analyze all the tasks and then eliminate, combine, or change the sequence of tasks that makes the most sense. So you're just drilling down, breaking it down. The best advice golfer Tiger Woods ever got was simplification of his swing. You know, they just analyzed it to the T and just kind of got rid of maybe some movements that were counterproductive to the end result. Job expansion, where you focus on making the work more varied. Could be rotating, where you're switching off jobs to make it more stimulating. Enlarging the job, make bigger scope of similar type duties. And then enriching, where you're giving the employees more authority and independence. Flexible work, we talked about how that can be motivating. Job sharing, telecommuting, compressed work weeks. Example would be hospitals do that. They might do 4/10s or 3/12s, or maybe just working weekends. And it can increase coverage for that day, but then also give people more flexible time, more time off to keep that work-life balance. So then this just breaks down the flexibility. Here's an example of a flexible work schedule. So you're really, the core hours, you've got overlap between the people working. Everybody's just working 40 hours a week, but with the flex time, you're actually expanding the hours of bandwidth that you're open. So regular hours 8:30 to 5, but here 7:30 to 6:30, you're accommodating employees, giving them more flexibility, and also your customers. So for forecasting, you need to determine what type of jobs we need, how many jobs we need to fill over a specific amount of time. And it's not easy to get it right, because if you don't, you're going to have either a surplus or a shortage. And that can cause lower morale, lower productivity. So you need to look at that and use the different types of forecasting. But the forecasting method you need to be reliable and valid. So for it to be reliable, it's if you do it multiple times and get the same results, like stepping on a scale. If the scale is reliable, you'll get the same weight. For valid, does it actually measure what it's supposed to measure? So there's 3 methods to quantitative forecasting. It should be done in 2 distinct steps, quantitative and qualitative. And there's different types of analysis. Here's an example of that. All the 3 different ones. And then there's qualitative, which is non-quantitative or non-math. And they basically use experts to come up with a consensus. So if we don't want to have a shortage or surplus, which both negatively affect the organization's performance. These are some things to do if you have a surplus. You could downsize, pay reductions, that's very demotivating. Work sharing, where you split up hours. Natural attrition is where you don't refill vacated positions. So as soon as someone leaves, just don't refill the position. Retraining and transfers, if you have too few in one area and too many in another, that might be an option. And then early retirement is an option as well. And the methods for shortage, overtime, maybe temp workers can get you through tough times. Reduce turnover. And then here's a